Be careful who you laugh at. Because the wheel always turns. 3 years ago, my sister laughed in my face because I drove an old, rusty car. Today, she walked into my office clutching her resume, desperate for a job. And she didn't know, the CEO she was about to meet was me. Funny thing about engines and people, they both run better after being underestimated. That night still plays in my head like a scratch on an old record. Mom's house smelled like roast chicken and fresh bread. Emily, my sister, arrived in her silver convertible, sunglasses on even though the sun had set. She tossed her keys on the counter, loud enough for everyone to hear the designer logo jingle. I parked 2 streets away. Ashamed of my dented Honda Civic. Praying no one saw me. When I finally walked in, she smirked. Lily, did that thing even make it up the hill? Laughter erupted, light, harmless, but sharp enough to sting. Even Dad chuckled under his breath. I smiled too. But something inside me cracked that night. After dinner, I stood outside in the drizzle, staring at my reflection in the windshield. That car might have been old, but it still carried me forward. And that was all that mattered. The next morning, I quit my safe accounting job. Emily called it career suicide. Cars, she laughed over the phone. You can't even change a tire, Lily. Maybe not then. But I knew something she didn't. Every empire starts with one broken part, and someone stubborn enough to fix it. I walked into a dusty repair shop on the edge of town. That's where I met Joe, a retired mechanic with oil-stained fingers and a quiet confidence. He looked up and asked, "You here for an oil change?" "No," I said. "I'm here to learn." He laughed. But when I didn't, he nodded. "All right then. Let's see what you're made of." Weeks turned into months. I burned my hands, broke my nails, ruined half my clothes. But I kept showing up. The smell of motor oil became my new perfume. Every grease stain on my skin became a badge of honor. One night, Joe pointed to a pile of rusted metal. "Tell me what you see." I said, "Junk." He grinned. "Wrong answer. That's potential." That word, potential, became my fuel. I started small. Restoring junk cars in my backyard. Neighbors whispered. Emily posted vacation selfies while I sold my jewelry to buy parts. People thought I'd lost it. But when my first car came to life, it purred like it had a soul. I named her Grace. Because that's what it took to get her moving. The next morning, she broke down. Engine blew up 5 miles in. Smoke everywhere. Neighbors peeked through curtains. And I swear, I could hear Emily's laughter echoing in my head. Joe found me sitting on the curb, defeated. "You quitting?" he asked. I shook my head. "No. I'm starting over." He smiled. "Then you've already won." That night, I tore Grace apart. Piece by piece. Failure wasn't an ending. It was a blueprint. Months passed. I didn't just fix cars, I reimagined them. What if old classics could live again, cleaner, quieter, stronger? That's how Revolt Motors was born. From my garage, with one woman, one dream, and a lot of late nights. Then came my first big chance. A delivery company wanted 10 electric vans. 10. I celebrated with cheap noodles, grease on my hands, and tears in my eyes. But 2 weeks later, my supplier backed out. No batteries. No parts. No time. I thought it was over. Then Emily called, not to help, but to mock. "Maybe this is your sign to stop embarrassing yourself," she said. I hung up. Then I built a new supply chain overnight, calling scrapyards, welding old parts, creating something from nothing. By the end of that week, all 10 vans rolled out. Silent. Efficient. Beautiful. The company signed another contract. The local paper ran a story, "Young woman revives classic cars for a greener future." Mom framed it. Emily called it cute PR. But when one of my prototypes went viral online, everything changed. Investors called. Orders flooded in. And for the first time, people stopped laughing. Then came that call. Emily's name flashed on my screen. Her voice was smaller now. "Hey, Lil, you wouldn't happen to be hiring, would you?" I almost laughed. But instead, I said, "Send me your resume." And I forwarded it to HR with a note. "Schedule an interview with Ms. Emily Brooks." A week later, she walked into my office, sharp heels, designer perfume, false confidence. She froze when she saw me at the head of the table. Lily, she stammered. I smiled. Please, have a seat. She tried to fake composure, but her voice trembled. When I asked, how would you market classic cars as modern solutions? She blinked. I'd have to think about it. The silence was sweet. I ended with, we'll be in touch. 2 days later, she got the job. Entry-level marketing associate. She didn't know I'd made that call. I wanted her to learn, not suffer. She fetched coffee, filed papers, stayed quiet in meetings. The same sister who once looked down on me, now avoided my eyes. But slowly, I saw something change. The arrogance faded. The pride softened. One evening, I found her staring at one of our electric Mustangs. She whispered, you really made it, didn't you? I said, I didn't make it, Emily. I built it. Months later, she knocked on my door. Tears in her eyes. I mocked you because I was scared, she said. You wanted more, and I didn't understand it. For a moment, I said nothing. Then quietly, you don't have to understand me, Emily. Just don't underestimate people who refuse to quit. That winter, Revolt Motors went global. We opened our first overseas plant. At the launch event, Emily stood behind me, proud, not jealous. She leaned in and said, Dad would be proud. I smiled. Yeah. And Mom would have finally stopped calling me practical. We both laughed. For the first time, it felt real. At the next family reunion, I arrived late. Everyone waited outside, curious. Then they heard it, the soft electric hum of Grace. I stepped out, in the same driveway where they once laughed. Emily clapped. This, she said, is my sister, the CEO of Revolt Motors. The same family that mocked me, now stood in awe. It's strange, isn't it? The same car they mocked became the engine of my success. The same laughter that broke me became my motivation. And the same sister who humiliated me, now works beside me. Life doesn't forget. It just waits, patiently, for the right turn. So if someone laughs at your old car, your small dream, or your quiet ambition, don't stop. Keep driving. Because one day, they'll be the ones asking for a ride.